Hello and welcome to the Wikipedia Weekly Network here, where Albin Larsson and I are editing Wikidata live before your eyes. Hello, Albin. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. There's been a lot of Wikidata this week, but I'm looking forward still. And you? How are you?
The same. A lot of Wikidata, and today I was a little bit totally unrelated to Wikidata, overwhelmed by a hailstorm when I was out taking a short jogging tour here. And 1 centimeter hail coming down. That was hurtful.
Right.
Yeah. But now I'm inside, cozy and warm, so that's good.
Yeah. Just like 2 days ago when there was a snowstorm outside and I spent the day inside writing SPARQL.
Yeah, that's the best thing.
Yeah.
What are you going to write some SPARQL today?
I am. There's going to be a lot of SPARQL today because today I'm going to do a calendar. As people who watch this show usually know, is that when there is some type of awareness day, we usually do something special around it. And I want to use Wikidata to make us a calendar showing upcoming awareness days. So that's what I will be doing today. And you, Jan?
That will come in very handy. I will do something completely different. I will edit Wikidata in other ways, perhaps not so much of the content of it, but helping out in discussions and some of the proposals that are there, and sort of show that.
Yeah, so the behind the scenes work.
A little bit, yeah, and perhaps enabling discussions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start by going to, and you probably might already recognize this web address with the wikidata.org, and that's over here. And I'm not going to show you any more of the actual links that I'm going to use. Instead, I'm going to try to teach you how to find them. so you don't even need to memorize them, because we have this nice little thing in the left column here. And of course, this depends if you have already switched to the new layout, then you have to bring it out to actually see it. I run with this, so I always see it. And the one we're going to explore today is, we're going to start with the project chat. And from there, we're going to dig deeper. Project chat is sort of what the village pump is on Wikipedia, and various language versions have different names, and various projects name them differently as well. But let's click over there and see what it is. And one thing that I sort of find is different to many Wikipedia versions, at least, is that, as it says here in the top, that it's more welcome to discuss individual data items on the project chat. And that's because there's not much discussion going on at all on the items, not as in Wikipedia on articles where there's discussions all the time. And I'm not really sure why that is, Albin. My sense is perhaps that it is you're not spending as much time on an item as you are writing an article.
Yeah, and everything is like proof facts. Even if Wikipedia tries to be neutral, there is still like body text that might be not as neutral, just because you write it in a particular style.
Yeah. So there's more to discuss, and there's more to sort of what do we want to include in the article. We have some of that in Wikidata as well, especially for living persons, but not as much. So that's why you're welcome coming directly to the project chat.
And usually it's like modeling questions, and those discussions usually benefits more than just that particular item.
Yeah. And I'm going to show you one of the things here, because it says that please use Q and P, which are two different templates, and they're very handy to use, not only in discussions, but on Wikidata in general. And these templates are also on some other projects. I know they're on the Meta. I think it's on Commons. We have them on Swedish Wikipedia, probably on English Wikipedia, and many more. I'm going to start off showing that little thing. So how it actually looks like is that you get something like this. And this is in my sandbox. And if we look at the source, it's very, very simple. It's just P and the property identifier, or Q and the item identifier. And then it's super handy because it will show you this thing in the interface language of the user. So if I switch here to Swedish and it goes through, it will go pick up the Swedish labels for these items. So it also easier for people to follow along what you actually mean, even if the main discussion is in English. So I'll switch back to English and head back over to the project chat. And my strategy for approaching project chat when I'm joining discussions is actually to go from the bottom up. So I usually start to look in the bottom because that's where perhaps you can help someone quickly. And sometimes some of these top are already done. They haven't just been archived by a bot. So I usually scroll down first. And this is, of course, people have different strategies, but here you can find perhaps something interesting. And I'm just going to scroll through here and see if I can contribute here. And my point of view is trying to quickly scan it and see if do I immediately know something about this or have an opinion or have I talked about it before. And if I do, I'll jump in and state my, like, wait, here's my point of view on this. And if I don't immediately have anything, I'll just pass it by. Some people have this on their watch list and like watch every edit. I don't. I instead go in here a couple of times per week, perhaps, and have a look. I'm not that frequent in actually joining in, but I do it from time to time. We'll see if I can see anything here. So here's someone asking how to indicate a typo in a source, which is an interesting thing. I'll skip that. The item documentation doesn't dissolve. That seems like a bug, perhaps. I'm not going to go today and file a bug, which is a little bit more to do. Here we have a very long discussion. I'm going to skip that. OpenStreetMap question. I find them interesting in general, so I'm going to take a look at this one to see. So this one is more or less solved already. Someone had a problem, and the first one joining in pointed out that they were trying to add something that wasn't going to go on that property. So I'll scroll up to the next one. Oh, this is an interesting. So this is something of a philosophical question. How fast ought it be? Ought it to be possible to edit Wikidata? Yes. So this routine medium-sized job takes 5 hours. Feels glacial. I find that funny because we've been editing a lot of glaciers. Hundreds and thousands, yeah. Yeah, so this comes down to a bit of tooling. If you actually use the command line interface, Wikibase CLI, you can get much faster editing. But I still find the general question intriguing. What do you think, Alvin? How fast should one be able to edit Wikidata?
I mean, we have limits in place, like official limits on one's account. I think it's for a regular account, it's 50 per minute or something like that. And for a bot, it's 500.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, for a bot, it's incredibly. For example, this is a good example because quick statement adds like one statement at a time,
Mm-hmm.
but the bot can actually make several edits, so to say, in one edit. So you can add two
you
statements.
bundle them and do a large edit, so to speak.
Exactly. You can edit an item in several places with just one edit, so to say. So there isn't much of a limitation on bots.
No.
Of course, sometimes when there are a lot of people editing Wikidata, it actually becomes slower automatically. And I think that's in general, so we are always trying to do it as fast as possible. But when a lot of people does it, everything gets throttled. And I mean that's the limit of the hardware and like the infrastructure. So
yeah,
everyone is trying the best they can.
Indeed. And if you would imagine a case where you want to do like something, if you're pretty sure you're doing an import of something new, and perhaps you have a couple of millions items you want to add or something like that. Of course, if you go even 500 per minute, it can feel slow. But I think that's sort of like how we're doing. We're not like plugging something in directly to the servers and pour it in. We're always using we'll always be using the regular API interface.
Indeed.
Yeah. So I'm not going to edit anything there either, because that sort of felt like it was already discussed. Here's also a very interesting one: how to monitor constraint violations. So constraint violations is ways we can put things onto properties so that we will use them in the same way on the same type of items, sort of. So you can set up kinds of rules, or actually constraints, for how they can get used. And you can get different kinds of warnings. You can get like a little notification, you shouldn't do like this, or you can actually get, you cannot even use it, I believe. Or is it always warnings? Maybe it's always warnings.
I think it's just warnings. At least I have never seen that there's been a block.
That might be true. I think I mixed it up with the abuse filter.
Right.
Yeah. And here's then the question: that we need for this a preferred rank, and how can we find them if not? And as this user is telling here, on the talk page from any property, and I'm going to show you the example in this property, there are a lot of links that is quite easy to miss, actually, because we have this green documentation box where you have the examples, and most of this is also used on the actual property page. But below it, we have here where we have sort of mirrored the constraint violations from the actual item page. And before we had the constraint violations, I think we only had them here. And in the bottom here, we see a list of constraint violations. So we have various kinds of database reports who are regularly updated, and they're not updated live, but I think there's a job going on and make lists of these. So here you can find, and let's see if I can do an example here. Not sure if this is going to show anything, but just so you can see how they might be constructed. Yeah, so here we see there's 1,000 warnings or violations on how this has been used. And then, yes, lots of database reports. And of course, for some, there's nothing wrong. So you get a 0, and you know that, oh, in this way, it's used correctly. This one seems also already solved, so I won't join in that discussion either. This one is also solved. Maybe there's not much to do here. This was a long and hard to understand heading. Full long scope, maybe. All right, going into the abstract items immediately. That's also, as they say, diving into deep end. I think this is also already solved. So I think it looks like most of the latest things here are already, people have responded to them. So I'm going to move on to something else. And I was thinking about proposals. And the proposal I was thinking about, we saw you a week ago or two making a property proposal.
Yeah.
And anyone can make a proposal. Only people with a property creator right can create them. But for them, or
administrators as well, right?
Yes. So that right is included in that. So, but for them to actually make that decision, they want people to join in the discussion and say, is this a good proposal? So that's what we're going to try to do now. So I'm going to, and we divide them here in various topic areas, sort of. So I'm going to head in here to the generic and see if it loads. And I'm going to use the same method that I did in the other one and start from the bottom, because the one who are in the top and not created yet are usually stale because there's some unclarity in them. Whereas if you work from the bottom, you might quickly add some value. So let's see what we have here. So we have a France 24 topic ID Arabic. All right. So this is sort of an external identifier for a topic.
Yeah.
This is how it would look like. And then
It's
you would
like
come to a tag news. Yes.
Oh.
That seems very handy. And we have already many of this kind. And it seems to land in the appropriate place. Even though I don't know Arabic, I recognize the images here. Let's see. We say that Nicholas is very unsure. It's more a tag than a real identifier. Yes.
Yeah, this is this is getting very, very common on Wikidata.
Yeah. So the question is the data type here correct? Because in my point of view, it's valuable information to add. A news source will probably not have a proper identifier in that sense. They might, but they might not also.
I think the regular concern people has is about how sustainable it is. If it's likely to change. I know a couple of news letters, for example, they only have it there for search engines and stuff. And when the topic slightly changes, they also change the URL to be relevant.
So it would be good to have this under supervision for a short while to see what happens, or something like that.
At least.
Or ask them to see if they do like the Finnish television broadcaster Yle, who's actually using Wikidata.
Yeah, I mean, but they're really good at identifiers. They have proper ones.
Yeah, and then we say in the class here, in this bundle of 5 property proposals. Yeah, I just saw here support for the 4 or 5: Spanish, English, French. It's 4. Either way. So either we approve them all or none, probably. And it's a little bit of a mix-up. Someone adds a support here, and a few add them support down here. Someone thinks, should there be one with some sort of language qualifier, but then again, they're not exactly the same. I'm inclined to support this, but then again, I don't. France 24? Aren't they quite an authority? Or maybe I'll skip that one. There's a lot of skipping today. Sometimes the editing process is also about the edits you don't do. Formed at the same time as. This feels arbitrary to me.
Yeah, that I'm very skeptical against, because you can indicate that by just pointing to the same time object, I imagine.
Yes, so I'm going to add something here. Not sure if I'm going to go with an oppose vote. So, yes, so here's an interesting thing I can dive into. So, on these proposals, you generally have 3 different alternatives. So, you can go like this, then add a comment, which indicates that you have a question, and perhaps you don't think this one is, the proposal is not mature enough to actually vote either yes or no for, either support or decline or oppose. Whereas we saw here, we had a support vote. And then, of course, you can have an oppose vote. So that's the 3 sort of things you can do. And here's the discussion started. So I'm going to add in to this. And here we come to also something that is I never really get used to, because we have different kind of discussions systems on all the various projects. Sometimes you have, as you can see here, we start with a bullet point, and then we have a bullet point and an indentation. And I'm not sure if I'm now going with a bullet point and 2 indentations or the other way around.
I think so.
Let's see if I just do.
That said, I'm never learning what's the case on Wikidata.
We'll see how this looks. Well, this looks good. So this is a proper indentation here for this. I'm not gonna say yeah. That was just.
I can't wait for the new response feature to land here.
Yeah, the discussion, which is available on Meta, and we have it on Swedish Wikipedia and some other places. We don't have it on Wikidata yet. I think perhaps we should ask to get it.
Indeed, it's great.
So I'm gonna say something here that I'd rather use the other time properties. So that's, we have a spelling error. Thank you. Because I think we have something like era and stuff like that as well, which could be used. So
Yeah.
I'm adding in here that little comment. And then, of course, use for tilde or this little sign button here to, I'm not, is this, yes, I can watch this page so I can follow along in what's happening. This new feature as well, which I think is lovely, that I'm not wanting this on my watch list forever, but I think this might take a month perhaps, so let's put it over there and then a short little thing there, which will make it more clear that this is not an easy one to just add as it is.
Indeed.
Perhaps not like the most positive feedback for someone to get who has taken the time to add a proposal. But then again, adding proposal is not always very easy, and it's through our collective efforts that we can make them as good as they can, because I think one of the worst things that can happen is that we create a property and then after a week or two realize, oh no, this was a bad idea.
Yeah.
And
we have had a couple of those.
We have had a couple of those, and many of the early properties, of course, like we tried different kind of methods and and we learn by doing.
Yeah, and we still have approaches that we're cleaning up. We decided several years ago that this wasn't a good idea, but then it just takes a lot of time to clean it up and migrate to a better way.
Yep. And here we have something, acronym, a short version for an item label, useful for, and I think this is, and what they say here also, this is the short name. So let's take a look at the short name property and see what examples are. We have the acronym and abbreviation.
Yeah.
And do we have any examples here? Orange County, short name OC, Dr. Philip, PhD. All right, so this feels like comment. I believe this is what, right? So here I'm actually going to do even not only comment, I'm going to go oppose.
Right.
And I'll use this little template that I showed you earlier. and say that I actually agree with them. Oppose. I'm still going to watch this for a month to see what happens with it. And then we get this red little minus. Now I feel a little bit bad doing two. Now I want to find something I can support.
Maybe we should consider changing the color.
Perhaps, yeah. But then again, it feels a little bit bad, but I know that we're helping the community.
Yeah.
So we're this is indeed redundant. So we'll see what else do we have. Repairability index. Interesting. So this is stemming from a new law in France, I would guess, which means that there will be a lot of different sources for this. So now the question is now, is this the French repairability index? Like, do they have a standard for this? Is it like, are there any other? All these points to all. So someone also says that something more specific to that website or whoever.
Yeah. I imagine we will see a lot of things like this pop up when the new legislation in the EU is in place.
Yes, that is coming as well. So here I'm going to add it. I'm try to be. All right. So adding some sort of positiveness, I like it, but we need to fix it a little bit. Yes, so we also get here. So it will become an EU standard soon. I think it's already been voted on in the European Parliament.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's passed the council yet, though. But it's likely to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's expected that we will actually see a lot of this type of legislation already in the summer.
Yeah. All right. So then it's maybe earlier than. So here we giving someone a little push forward. I'm gonna watch this, not permanently. Let's do it for a month. Right. So I got a few edits. I helped the community along a little bit, and these take a little bit of time to think and like what is actually the proposal, but it can have a huge impact because some of these properties might have very good sources, authoritative sources, and make the item as a hub, especially external identifiers, whereas others are more like, oh, this is a value or something like that. So I encourage you all to, if you haven't already taken a look, take a look and see, because I guess the only thing being worse than getting a no on a proposal or you have to change this is that no one cares at all. So you think you have written something good and no one either votes for or against. So that was me, or my chip in here for today. Let's see if we will see some queries.
Right. So, if you've been following us for a while, you know that we have done a lot of things related to various awareness day. Last week we had the Open Data Day. The week before that we had the Free Software Day, I believe, or if it was even 1 week more. But
that one, we had the International Polar Bear Day in between.
right, and before that this was Free Software Day. Right. So we do a lot of things like this, and Wikidata contains a lot of information about these things. Jan, for example, 2 weeks ago edited this item about the International Polar Bear Day. So I want to use Wikidata SPARQL to make a calendar for us about upcoming awareness days. And it's not as simple as just give me all the awareness days, because then we will get them in some random order. And even if we sort them by date, they are still not the upcoming ones because we need to sort them in relation to the existing date. And because they are happening every year, they do not necessarily have a timestamp as a date. They just point to a day. They point to December the 1st, which is poses an interesting challenge. But I'm just going to start here by selecting awareness days and subclasses of awareness days. I'm going to do my regular thing as I use star when I do a bit of exploring, so I don't need to update my variables. I'm going to call this event. Grab instance of as well as subclass. Using the autocomplete even for the ones I use all the time. And star there. And here we want PD. Awareness day. Right. Let's see how many we got. About 751. I want to take a look at the modeling of some of this just to see what we have to work with. The Emperor's birthday. Right. This is actually one thing I want to sort out. I want to sort out the national days. I'm pretty sure this is a subclass of awareness days, but we have a bit more of an international audience, and I'm making this for us. So yes, this is a subclass of awareness day. So I'm gonna filter this out. So just gonna write minus, and then again the instance of. No need for the subclass here. And did I copy it? I needed that. And
I'm
event.
impressed it handled the spaces there. That's good.
Yeah, I've noticed that quite recently. It's super nice. I can just copy paste the name of it rather than the queue item. We got a couple of less ones. I want to see, we needed date information somehow. So let's see what we got to work with. So this is not a national day. Okay.
So more to remove.
Maybe I'm gonna actually leave it for now. See. Here we got the world day. This is what I'm looking for. Day in the year for periodic occurrence. We see country here and Latin America. Okay. But this is actually what we need. We want that day. So I actually want to write it here after the minus, hoping that it will not run it on. And yes. And this would be the day. I'm gonna call it day for now. Let's have a look at how day is modeled. I imagine we want the month in structure format as well as the day itself. So point in time with respect to recurring time frame. Part of July. So we got a month there. We also got, this is the day, right? We want to pick those two up, okay? Let's start by picking up the month. So this would be day then, we are at. We already selected the day. And what was the name of that property? Part of. As basic as that. Part of. That's the month. But now we actually want the qualifier. And we actually don't need the month itself. The qualifier here is enough. No, it's not what I'm saying. We need a qualifier because the qualifier represents the day. So having selected the month, we now want to go day VDT. We do not want to have VDT. We want to have P, I believe. Because this P namespace allows us to access things like qualifiers and that information bearer rather than the value itself. So this would be month node, I'm going to call it. Actually, let's have it in Wikidata terms. Month statement. It might be slightly easier to follow. And here we can select things from that. And when we work with qualifiers, I think it's, I'm going to double check actually, it's PQ for qualifiers. And it was called series. Oh, there we go. Thank you very much, autocomplete. And that would be day. We already have a value called day. So I'm going to call it day of month. For now, I'm going to run this. And again, I got new labels here yet, because when I use the star, the label service won't work anyway. But we see here, we actually see, so each statement has an identifier. We won't use this for anything. We already use it here to reference between those two. But because I select everything, this is still displayed here. So you got the day of the month, which is great. And we got a bunch of events. We essentially got most of the data we want already. We got the event itself. We could just add label and we would see what we have to work with. However, we need to get a way to sort this. Because I see it's not super readable, I will actually go ahead and add the basics here. And the labels. Event label. Right.
Perhaps you're going there. I'll let you explore. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
So my question now was like you picked the actual value for the day. Do we need to do the same for the month? Because now we have an item for the month.
Yeah, so an interesting thing here. I'm going to see if we can actually run into some data. Let's see if I select month here, and let's select a label for the to see if there's any odd month. For example, in Wikidata, we have days for different calendars and things like that, which we don't want to deal with. We just want our own basic calendar and the 12 months we're used to. So gonna do something like that. And I did not add the label service.
The magic sauce.
Like that. Let's see. So we see the good old ones. Maybe we were lucky and we only got those. It seems.
First glance, it looked good.
Yeah. So gladly we don't need to think about that. However, as you said, we actually want the value, so we can actually sort them. And here we could do subquery, give us all months in this specific calendar and things like that. But we have 12 months, and next week we also have 12 months. So I don't want to bother with making that because it's just gonna make this slower having a subquery there. So I'm gonna use. I have prepared this on beforehand, but I'm gonna use the values feature of SPARQL 1.1 because this, you might have seen we using values and we like loop over all of the values. But something else very cool you can do is you can use values as a filter. So I have already called this month, and then this down here where I reference the same will only, they are connected, so to say. This will filter out any months that's not in this array. And this is essentially January and December down here. And I have added the order here. And because of that, if I would now do something like this, I would also select month order. It would already know because I reference down here, this value section, it already knows which one to pick. So I'm going to run this. And we get the order. April is 4th, January is the 1st, and so on. And technically, we should be able to sort by this. Month order. I need to say order by as well.
Yeah.
And it's order.
Right.
It starts with January. However, that's not good enough because when you order events by date, you also need to order it by, not year in this case, because we are working within 1 year, so to say, but we also need the day. But this order by is a really smart one. It can take multiple things. So we can start by doing month here, but for example, here there is a tie. It's January. It doesn't know which comes first. But if you define a second value here, it will actually order by that. So I'm going to add this day of month. So it will first order by month, then of day of month. And let's see if it works. I actually need to select the day, but
it changed the order.
Yeah, and we got New Year's Day here as the first one, so it's an indicator that it did work. But let's pick that as well. Day of month, and let's see. So we got 1, but then we see 24, and then we got 4 down here because 2. It just looks at this first one. It's before 1. And that's very true. You can see that I already considered this, and I added some padding and the 0 before everything. I did this for 2 reasons, because I also want to only get the ones that haven't occurred yet. For example, New Year's Day has already been. I want to start from today, so to say. So I'm going to start bringing that in. What do we need to know first then? We need to get in SPARQL what the day is. And first of all, I want the year, because I'm going to need this later. Bind, we are just defining a variable here. We're going to do year around a function called now. Now is a super useful function. It just gives us a timestamp of right now. And I'm going to call that current year. And now comes the interesting part here. So that's all good. We got the current year. But we need more. We need to be able to filter out. And we can do super easy thing here. We can do something like filter current. We can do like event timestamp. Timestamp. Oops, a filter is a function. And it could be bigger than no. However, we do not have the event timestamp, and that event timestamp needs to be of a specific data type. And we do not have that because we actually don't know the date for these events. We just know that they reoccur every year on a specific date. So we need to convert that information into a timestamp. And we need information in this format like this. And it's super simple for months because there are only 12. It's not as easy for dates. So we're going to need to do a bit of magic here. We need to check that if the date is more than one number long, we need to add a 0 in front of it. So again, we are going to use this bind. And let's see. And we are going to use the SPARQL function if. If is super easy. We just have a condition here, like 1 is equal to 1. And the second one is just true. And this would be what we set a variable to if it's false. And as ... for now. So this is how it works. It checks if this is true. If so, it sets this variable here to this value, otherwise to this value. So we need to check if the day of month is less than 10, essentially. And first of all, to do that less things, we need to check that it's less than 10. And to do that, we need to convert it to an integer, which we easily do like that. The day of the month, and then is it less than 10? Okay, if it's less than 10, we need to add a 0 to it. We can work with strings here. So I'm going to use the feature concat, which takes 2 strings and merge them into one. And I have used double quotes. So we want to merge 0 into the day of the month. We will already go. Day of month. And I think we need to set this to string as well, because it's not the string here. Right. And if not, we just want it to return the day of the month as it is, but as a string. Because if it's already 2 letters, we don't need to add that 0. Day of month, and we need to, oh, it's getting longer.
If it wasn't string and it wasn't integer before, what was it?
I think it's doing some type of normalization. So right. it's I'm not sure. I played around with it and couldn't figure it out. You can actually ask for the type, I believe, but
yeah.
I haven't bothered.
But now you're explicit.
Yeah. Yeah, it could make it a little easier to read, to know what's going on.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna call this day of month with padding, because that should be right. Okay, then we need to merge this into something that we can convert into a timestamp and convert to that type. So again, I'm going to use this bind. We could have done it in the same bind, but it's already getting into vertical scrolling here. first thing we want to do is to convert something into an order type, and just as we're done here, to convert something to an integer, we can do something similar to convert it into date time. And autocomplete works here as well if you just type the namespace. And okay, so how do we build this? First, we need a year. I have already got this, and we want to merge all of this into a string as well. Again, I'm going to use concat. Here, I'm going to say I want this as a string. Actually, to make this a little smaller, no, I'm going to have it string here anyway. First, we need a year. It's the first thing in this timestamp. And then concat is really smart. So here we only use 2. We merge 2 strings together. Concat, you can just add as many as you want, and it will keep merging them. There's going to be a lot of parentheses to keep track of here. Next up, we want to separate the year and the month by just a line. But then we need a month. We got the day of the month here, but we in particular want this month order, so this value, because here we already got the 0. Again, we would need to do all of this padding like we're done here if it wouldn't be for this work I've already done up here. So I'm gonna go with month order. Next up, again, we can just keep on in this concat function, which is really handy when we're dealing with things like this. I'm adding, next up we need a day. So day of month. And that could be it, you might think. But this data time is date time. So we need to make up a time as well.
Yeah.
And I have copied that suffix for myself in my notes. And here we got a syntax error as well. There should be a comma there. Right. And let's use double quotes here as well. So this is essentially the end of the day. And with that, we should be able to go to say event timestamp, which we used in my made-up filter down here. That would surprise me if that just works now after typing that much SPARQL, but let's see.
That's how we get to find out.
Yes. So now it doesn't select. Let you see. Yeah, we got a couple of results.
It seems to be working because we have Pi Day coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, and the International Day of Mathematics. I'm not even ordering it right now, or I do by
you do,
but we can do something even better here. I think we can just order by, simplify it slightly. We should be able to just order it by, let's see, event timestamp. I think it should be able to order date times as well. Okay, we got P Day coming up. I know that's tomorrow. International Day of Mathematics, same day. We got 20, 21, 22, 24, 25, 26. We're moving into April. Okay.
Yes.
You're
having some duplicates.
Yes, we probably have duplicates because of something. Let's see if this thing does the trick. It's always a good idea to have there. That's a major difference.
Yep.
Let's now see. Let's now see if we can clean this up. So event and event label is still very relevant. I can just add the event timestamp here because the Wikidata query interface knows how to turn it into something nice looking. So if I rerun it like this, and
Beautiful.
we can see that it seems to line up. Then we can also validate here. I see one problem here that I have been running in before. You might notice that it starts on 11th of April, and that to me sounds a little odd. If we go down to May, we can also see it starts on 10. So it actually skips everything we have defined in this, everything we're dealing with here, I imagine, which is not what I wanted. And I think I know why, because we have made a mistake here, I see. So currently, I'm just here taking the day of the month and not the day of the month with padding, which means that everything here that does not have that 0 will fail, and that fail won't cause it to throw an error. It will just ignore that item. So we need to use the day of the month with padding.
Yeah. And we went from 480 to 320 first, so that's about a third. So yeah,
so this makes a lot more sense. Okay, I think that is pretty good.
Do we have April Fools now in there?
Let's see if that's an awareness day.
No,
we do not.
No one is aware of that. That's why we're all fooled.
Indeed. Actually, speaking of what the day is about, I actually want to do a final thing here after the filter. I want to have an optional for the main subject. I think that sometimes it's very informative when they have odd names. And just very basic here, we're going to select the event, main subject, which is a super useful one to know because it's very common. Subject. And actually, I'm only going to select the subject label. Let's see how many actually got this information. Oh, not even P-Day. That's an edit for tomorrow. P-Day do not have a subject label. Okay. Nor do the International Day of Mathematics.
We have some easy edits here.
Yeah, indeed. But this uses quite a bit of trick. We uses the value one to make a filter, and we use it like a map. In programming languages, at least, we can connect things. We could add a third one, so you can keep on adding here. We could have this as name, and then we could do like the actual name here as a third one. And it would know that. It would connect that by itself. So you can do a lot of things this way. It's super useful. It works like a filter as well. For example, if there would be a month in a different calendar here, it would completely ignore that. Another thing when we actually do this sorting, so I believe, for example, do we have something that happens on the 11th of April or February? We don't know that. But for example, we are selecting the day here, which is the item for the day. So each day has an item. But it does not necessarily have its label set to December the 1st, because some days or dates are mostly known under a different name. So we can't just split that information and use that. So we need to go down and look at this information to compile a timestamp using an if statement and so on. So I really enjoy this query. However, there are a couple of things that I would really like to have here, which we can't have. For example, for Jan and me, it would be super useful to have something like the day of the week, because we usually stream on Saturdays. However, you cannot do that in SPARQL. It just is not possible. I have been reaching out to a couple of people to see if there are some type of extension to SPARQL that can do that, or maybe using a federated query to serve which has some magic, just like we have the label service. I do not know if that is the case, and if that's the case, it would need to be white listed.
We could cheat it by knowing for 2021 and 2021, we know when Monday starts, or like the first day of the year, and then we can just add up.
Yeah, so we could add up. We could build a values query for the particular year.
Yeah, or just do a math thing like divide by 7 or something like that and see what the modular is.
Yeah.
So we could calculate it by knowing like this is the 363rd day, but it's a tricky one. There should be a pre-built library for it.
Yeah, we could. It would actually be a bit of work, because I imagine they're just like when the month is it, so we would need to add January and February. So, but that would be super cool if someone take this query and expands upon it like that. I think I'm gonna expand upon it a little bit myself. For example, there could be duplicates here, because there can be more than one subject label per event. So if we would have a lot more time, I would actually show you how to merge things like that. So subject label here would actually have it be comma separated, and have, if World Poetry Day also had a tree in it, so it's World Poetry Tree Day, it could have both poetry and tree, and we could concat that to essentially be merged here. I won't do that today, maybe another time, probably in another query. But if you want to play around with this, maybe use it for something else. The last thing I'm gonna do is to share it.
Yeah. This would, perhaps if you want to polish it a little bit more, but I think this would be a good basis to have as an example in the query examples, because the trick here of actually constructing a date time might be something that there are more times when it's interesting.
Indeed. Something like this, maybe a little more generic, or actually as it is, could make a good example.
Get inspiration on what could I use it for.
Yeah, and it does not necessarily. So this is actually a nice trick for people. I'm gonna show that last thing I do. So in addition to this example, I at least think it is in addition to, let's see. We have a lot of great examples here, but I think I'm double checking here that in addition to this one, we have another one on Wiki that are just advanced examples. I don't think they are included. Yeah, so here we got a great bunch of examples, almost 400 soon. But on Wiki, I think there is a page for advanced examples, which are always a good source of inspiration. Right.
All right. That was some nice work, and also useful for us.
Indeed.
So next week we will be back, but not with one of these topics, because we're heading into the 30 days of lexicographical data or something like that. I don't really remember, but it's a theme month starting on Monday, going on for 30 days with lexemes and lexicographical data on Wikidata. So next Saturday, we will be focusing on Lexemes.
Yeah.
Yes, Nicholas, Lexemes. There will be
Lexemes.
30
It's a
Lexemes
little
days.
scary.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah.
It's a little scary for me. We haven't done a lot of things with Lexemes. It's gonna be interesting. I'm probably gonna do something rather basic. You're gonna see a beginner in action, so to say.
Well, that's good because I think
Yeah.
a lot of people are still beginners in that. The community of people editing often is fairly small still.
Yeah.
So I think that might be fun. And then we found out, not thanks to your calendar, but I think I stumbled upon it on some other occasion, but we would have found it through your calendar, is that Saturday after that, it's Earth Hour. So
Yes.
we'll be editing in the darkness, I guess, in some sort of way. We'll see how we actually solve that.
We're gonna need to play with that first.
Yeah. But until then, happy editing.
Yes. Keep on querying.